Texans will have practice tomorrow, so they'll hit the field, and we'll see, who's out there. My expectation, very unlikely we see C.J. Stroud. So C.J. still experiencing symptoms, and we'll see if he's out there. I think Titus Howard is going to return to practice. He's been in the NFL concussion protocol, so we'll see what happens with that. And then, looking at, the Texans and their whole health situation, there's some chance that they get Jalen Petrie back, and Trent Brown is still hobbled with ankle injury. X-rays were negative, so we'll see. I heard he's going to be okay. Whether that means 6'8", 380 with the ankle injury, he's going to go. We'll see. So it's a situation. So we'll see if how that goes. But I think it may be a moot point for those that were asking about the possibility of Titus Howard. I thought it was a very unrealistic scenario. Titus Howard to go to, shifting from right tackle back to left guard. And, he's played very well at right tackle. So that didn't really make any sense to me to have that change. So we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, that was not the expectation at all to have, him play at the left guard spot. I do think that Blake Fisher, of course, he'll be available for the jumbo package, and we'll see how that goes, if they continue to use that package a lot. But I expect them to be Davis Mills starting again, and thought he did a really good job this past game. So I expect them to continue with Davis Mills. And you look at, kind of where they'll go from here. It's, if you don't have C.J. Stroud play this week, then you have to decide, is he going to play on a short week against the Buffalo Bills? So that's an interesting situation. I'm assuming Cassius Smith is asking about Jalen Smith, not Jalen Noel. We have a lot of Jalen's. Oh, it does say Jalen Smith under there. He injured his knee. He did not tear his ACL. It was something lesser than ACL, I was told. But yeah, he's out for the season, and so that's it for Jalen Smith on injured reserve for the second time. Full recovery expected. Had some issues with hamstrings. Undetermined on whether they're going to keep Nick Haley for next year. If he continues to play the way he did, kind of trending that way. Okay. No hate speech. We're going to have to kick you out. That was bad. No Joe Mixon news, just hearing the saying he will not play at all this year. Cade Stover is expected back as soon as this week, so heard that directly from someone close to Cade, that Cade should be ready to practice. We'll see if they feel like they need him. I think they do, and get him back out there. Yep, Joe Mixon, yeah. For Dre Eagles, yeah, no. Very tough, complicated situation. Some procedures done on his foot, not surgical, that affected the foot, and just not doing well. Right now, the remaining safeties are Jalen Petrie, of course, who can play safety, but Miles Bryant, Jalen Reed, and on the practice squad, Jalen Mills. So I think we could see an elevation for him. I think that they'll probably go with Miles Bryant because they felt good enough about him playing nickel, and they shifted him there instead of Jalen Reed this past game. I thought the line was better. I also thought that, Davis Mills was very realistic about getting the football out and, understanding that there's only a finite amount of time. Oh yeah, Landry? What's he talking about? Nick Hickman. You instigating or you got something real? I think we're good, me and Landry. So we'll see. I didn't hear about it. Yeah, no Mixon. Yeah, they're not. A source told me they're not counting on him at all for anything for the season. No, I don't think they would hire Dable. I don't think he's the answer at all. You're welcome, Rhino. Yeah, that was unacceptable what he said. I don't think they're going to play Mertz unless there's an injury. And Stroud will make it back, so I don't see any chance for Mertz. Tank is good. He's running around, Cassia. He's doing well. And, yeah, he's on track for next season. There could come a point where it's tempting to play him, but I don't anticipate them using him at all this year. And thanks to Rhino. I appreciate that. And, yeah, the tip jar is open. Anybody that wants to throw in. Shameful plug. Your concussion protocols, Brandon, are the same as everybody else's. No one else is just playing guys after a few days in a concussion protocol. It's really standardized, a week. And some of these guys have symptoms that include dizziness, sensitivity to light, headaches. It's your brain. It's a brain bruise. It's not them being soft or anything like that. It is a real problem when you have a brain injury. You only get one brain. You can heal up from a hamstring. You can play through some shoulder injuries. You can do a lot of things. Starting O-line, my crystal ball, I think it could look like this. Arion Turris, your left tackle. I could see left guard being Jarrett Patterson. Center, Jake Andrews. I'm not sure on Ed Ingram yet, but I heard he's going to try to go. And so it could be Ingram and Titus Howard. If Ingram can't go, then you got Jarrett Patterson and Juice Scruggs. I don't think they would re-sign Nick Chubb. I think that $5 million, what they got, was enough. Maybe the independent spotter missed something, Mellow Mike, on that one, but I heard he did not have a concussion in the 49ers game. Rhino, yeah, it's an interesting point about CJ playing a series. You're risking his head. He still has symptoms. Symptoms as of this week. He's still going to be in the protocol. Oh, Action Aaron, Alpha Aaron, whatever, yeah. Hey, maybe I could get what's my nickname for Landry? LL? Yeah, I don't know, Brandon. Yeah, Woody Marks basically, he started this past game and they increased it. I think it continues to go that way. You'll know tomorrow when he doesn't practice, Cassia. It doesn't look good. Stover, I answered this earlier, but yeah, Stover, I'm told he's ready to return, ready to practice. So we'll see if they do that. Yeah, Nick, well, Patterson played okay. They are short-staffed, Rick, at DB. They're going to have to move some things around. But at least you got Derek Stingley Jr. snagging one-hand interceptions. Kamara Lasker playing very well. Yeah, it's right, Alpha. They came up with this because I mic'd a guy and because I think my YouTube channel went up and it had me doing a promo. So they thought that was like a alpha move. Whatever. Overpaid. You can't really like cut their pay, Robbie. You know that you negotiated it. A deal's a deal, right? Yeah, I mean it's precautionary for Trent, but he's 6'8", 380. Imagine if you're 6'8", 380 and you hurt your foot and ankle. That's not good. They were really excited, Cassia. They were pretty raucous in there. They weren't jumping and dancing around, but they're happy. They were legitimate smiles. I think Will Anderson Jr. kind of captured the mood. The most of the guys that we talked to, even Dalton Schultz was smiling. He's usually pretty serious, yeah. No, I do not anticipate a Caserio extension. I think they're going to evaluate Nick. Absolutely, yeah. I still have little issues sometimes with the stream. I wanted to do this on my laptop and still having trouble. I don't know if my laptop camera's good enough, but it's is what it is. So we're on the phone. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Nick. Yeah. Old school. Well, what do you guys want to talk about? What are you into? So it was a nice event today with Kimberly Stroud, CJ Stroud's mom, and great playground that they put together, them and Lowe's and Lily's Toy Box and the CJ Stroud Foundation. Really, really fun event to cover. Doing a lot of great things here in Houston, and family's just really happy, feels very embraced by the city. They appreciate everybody. No, I just think a weird coincidence, Mellow Mike, about the turf. I don't think it's that hard. I mean, I walk on that turf all the time. I don't think it's, an issue. Yeah, that was the most fun game. I thought the 49ers game was cool, but this was an exciting fourth quarter, one of the more exciting last games that I've covered. I don't have the PFF in front of me, but I thought he did well. I think he was really outstanding. I appreciate that. Let me go back a little bit. Thanks, Adrian. Yeah, shoot me a note to my Twitter or whatever. Message me. That'd be great. I don't know, Drum. I think that their playoff team, the defense, but it's really tough to think that they're going to win and go 6-2. I think they need to get to 10 wins. And I don't know if they're going to go 6-2 the rest of the way. I agree, Rick. Jaden Higgins is playing some good football. He looks good. No update on the stadium negotiations. I'm told it's pretty stagnant. They've made some progress on potential sites for the practice facility. I think suburbs is most likely. I think they'll consider both. There's not a rush, but with Anderson, the number kind of needs to get around, somewhere in the neighborhood of Aiden Hutchinson. Jimmy Ward update, couple weeks. I could see them opening the roof. They just generally don't do it. Depends how cold it's going to be. Brevin Jordan tore his patellar tendon, tore his ACL in that leg last year. This time it's a torn patellar tendon. He's actually making a fast comeback, but I thought that they overloaded the leg with too much snaps in the Vikings game, and then that turf that he was on inside the bubble just had a tough day. It was overloaded, and then he's coming back from a bad injury, and he has a new injury. They were cheering a little bit. The general manager, James Gladstone, and some of his staff, they were making a little bit of noise. It wasn't anything that disruptive. I've seen much worse. I've seen Bill Polian talking about break somebody's leg and complaining about the refs and cussing. And this was when he was with the Colts at the Ravens Stadium, and he was a mess. I think Jalen is trending toward a return. I'm sure that Titus is practicing this week. Ingram is going to try to give it a go. They're going to evaluate in the morning and see how he feels and see if he can practice. I thought the game plan switching was good because if you think about what Caley did, he did switch up the plays. He was running outside instead of just running up the middle. That shows to me that he's not stubborn, that he will change. There were better play calls, Nick. I agree. It was better constructed, definitely better process. Also, more Woody marks is what helps. I'm not sure, Rick, what do you mean about prospects? Right now it's kind of just all about the season. I don't think they're going to fire Caley. I think it would take a real collapse here and no potential for them to feel that way. I've never talked to a flag holder, Kasia. Let me know how that goes. I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure it's fun to be on the field. Enjoy that. Congratulations. Yep, I know. Slowick wouldn't adapt. Like we reported, he wouldn't change. Jalen, I think Jalen is playing better. Yeah, he was absolutely 100% on his targets. The fourth down one was very good. I think that, you got to think about playing him. CJ, still dealing with symptoms this week. I think unlikely to play. Ruben, thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that joins the channel. I appreciate everybody that supports it. And we're at almost 20,000, so it's been a fast-growing channel since I started this last year. And, this is on top of my duties as far as television at Channel 2, and of course writing for www.clicktohouston.com. It's a balancing act, and I try to put as much as I can into the channel with frequent posts, with a lot of things that I get to do here. Love the freedom, love posting, learning more and more about YouTube, the algorithms, all the things that it takes, and do my best to make sure that it's clean, consistent content for you guys, and a little bit of a change of pace. I am a little different. I'm not really a big bomb thrower as far as like hot takes and things like that. Everybody's channel is good. Everybody's got different approaches. My approach is, I'm coming at this from a journalism standpoint and just try to give you guys the truth and answer your questions and post things I think you guys will be interested to see. I think there's definitely input from the boss. And I think Kaylee, everybody's told me he's very smart, he's a good guy, and I think he is legitimately trying to adapt the offense. Yes, I believe that strongly that Davis Mills should start. I think he will start. I just wonder if on the short week, is that the move? If there's any rust with CJ or any lingering concerns, could this be 3 weeks of Davis Mills? We'll see. Yeah, they did make a little bit of an improvement on offense. They jumped up a little bit because of some of the recent stats. Yardage, though, bigger thing is the red zone, 4 or 5 in the red zone. Finally, some red zone progress. They were absolutely the pits, and they were the last in the NFL for the red zone, and then they finally got it together. So better plan. Yeah, the outside zone is something I think they're experienced, and they're good at that. What's up, Kodiak Edge? I think Jalen Noel can do it. I think that he's capable. That's right. He did smile when I asked him about those plays. So did Woody Marks. Woody Marks was a key guy on not just his touchdown, that was a great run, but the block for Davis Mills on that great scramble. I appreciate it, Philip. Yeah, definitely trying. Thanks, Drum. Doing my best. Trying to get this thing going. I think that the Packers, that's avoidable. What's up, Mr. Optimistic? They can do better. I think that LaFleur's got to take a little look in the mirror and reevaluate. I think they worry about getting him overutilized. But yeah, he is the best returner. I think that Berrios, they see some value in him still. He's very sure-handed. Philip, I'll give you kind of the Cliff Notes version. I was a walk-on linebacker at East Carolina University, invited walk-on, played for 3 years, injured my shoulder, worked in the recruiting office for a little bit, became then a student journalist at the school newspaper, had several internships, covered high school sports. Eventually, I started covering high schools, University of Florida, and the Jaguars. Then I covered the Tennessee Titans and high schools in the Nashville area. And then I started covering the Ravens. I covered the Ravens for 15 years. Started a small newspaper, then moved up to the Baltimore Sun. Broke the Ray Rice story. Covered Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden and Ed Reed and Shannon Sharp and a lot of great football games with Joe Flacco. Covered a Super Bowl team. John McClain recruited me to join the Houston Chronicle. In the Chronicle, parted ways about 4 years ago. Joined KPRC, couldn't be happier. Love being on television, love working with Randy McElroy, Nick Mantis. And now I'm purely digital, but I still have the kind of newspaper background, and that's how I approach the stories and the reporting. It's just kind of that bedrock foundation of how I became a journalist. And I grew up, actually as a paper boy. I was a guy that delivered the Washington Post. I grew up a Redskins fan. I went to games. My family had season tickets. I would read about the games that I went to and wanted to hear what the great writers at the time, like Michael Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser, Thomas Boswell, what they had to say, and just kind of got the writing bug and was a big, voracious reader. Always loved to read the newspaper, read books, and that's how I kind of got into journalism. I just had kind of a perfect storm of things that I was interested in. Lions are really good. Draft direction, offensive line. Look at the offensive line, but they got to have a better approach to it. I think they got to let the offensive line coach pick the offensive lineman. That's my opinion. Let Cole Popovich pick those guys. I said it earlier, Race X, I do not expect Joe Mixon back. Daniil, I don't know if they would do that. I think probably like a restructure. He is heading into a contract year. I think they like the way it's going. We'll see if they want to go forward. Haven't thought a lot about Green Bay losing. I know that they're not achieving to the point that they should be. I was talking about this a little earlier. No, I do not expect Tank Dell to play this year. It doesn't make sense for Tank Dell. Costa, yeah, Nick, there is a tight end there. Koziel, 6'7" tight end. He's an interesting prospect. I think that they would be looking at him. Also, could be someone from the teams they've played against as well. I don't think anyone's going to own who wanted City Sal. Was it Cole Popovich? Was it D'Amico Ryans? Was it Nick Caserio? Was it a combination of all three? But it was bad. He was so bad that they had to take him out. I don't think there was any plan to rotate him. I think he was supposed to play. That was just a big mistake. But they rectified the mistake. At least they recognized that he shouldn't be out there. I don't play fantasy football at all. I think that it's just distracting to me on game day. So I don't want to play. We don't know yet if Trent's going to be able to play. I heard he's okay. That was one source told me. I heard x-rays were negative, but just got to see how he feels. I don't think he's going to need to play because I think Titus Howard's going to play. No, I think the city experiment is over, Ruben. It's over. It'll be Juice Scruggs, Jared Patterson, Ed Ingram, guys like that. I don't know, JJ. I said Detroit's excellent. I don't know. I wasn't really thinking about that. I'm a little more focused on the Texans. Yeah, Detroit's awesome. I was up there, remember, for the joint practices. Said a lot of good things about the Lions. I think Davis really does suit the offense. I think there's a good rapport. You saw how excited Nick Haley was in discussing Davis. I don't think he was just propping him up. He does get the ball out fast. I don't think they've ruined CJ. I just think they have to protect better for him. And he's got to adapt his play to getting the ball out faster. So two things can be true. The Texans can do better by him, get him more weapons, better offensive line, and he can play better too. But he's still their most talented quarterback. This is a former NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, guys. I understand there could be for the fans, a quarterback controversy, maybe for some of the media. To me, there is no controversy. Davis Mills is the backup, period. Absolutely, yeah. City Sal, it was bad. It was brutal. And he's a good guy, former fourth-round pick of the Patriots, and he started for them somehow, but yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir, JJ. I had a good time in Detroit. If you're from there, I found some cool places to eat. The Detroit-style pizza. I went to a cool Mediterranean restaurant, the Detroit Media. Got some friends up there. Some of my bros, Dave Burkett, and it was good seeing those guys. And they have a first-class facility there at Allen Park. The lines are legit. And I know they're PR guys. Everybody's cool. Had a good time. Did some decent content while I was there. I had that nice exclusive with Nico Collins. Went really well. Jimmy Ward, a couple more weeks, and I don't think he's going to be playing immediately at all. I think right now, they would probably go with Miles Bryant, and Jalen Reed would back him up. They could also elevate Jalen Mills from the practice squad. I think that might happen. Yeah, I mean, this offensive line, it's probably going to change even more. I think we're not done seeing the changes. To my understanding, Matt Burke is still calling the plays. I don't know if they would cut Sal. Shuffle the practice squad again. They didn't even have any tryouts today. They didn't have any tryouts last week, so it doesn't seem like they've got something on there. I think the moves that we might see, maybe obviously MJ Stewart will go to injured reserve. Cade Stover likely designated for return, and then see how that goes. That's the rumor, BG. We haven't really heard that if they're going to do that. Trent. He did a good job. For a guy that hadn't played all year. Remember, he was a Pro Bowl lineman at one point. He's gigantic. I was just talking about Stewart, that rad. I think the leader of the clubhouse is Miles Bryant, unless they want to swap Petrie and Bryant. I mean, Petrie's your best safety option, but he's also your top nickel. It's really early, Nick. No, there's nothing coming up right now on draft board. We don't even know, anything like that. I mean, there's lots of players they're into. It's just, we're going to see. Offensive line's a big deal. Upcoming game I'm excited about. I think the Thursday night Buffalo game is pretty cool. I always like covering games in Kansas City. And yeah, I think that'd be fun. I'd like to check that out. Hey, what's up, Cody? Appreciate it. Thanks, bro. Hey, bro. I taped that for those guys. That was like voluntary. So I'm a good sport. I swear. Cody in the house. Guys, Cody's channel, Cody's newsletter. I'm a paying subscriber to Cody. Get on board with Cody. Cody's got a great channel. Lots of awesome content. Him, Landry, all those guys. It doesn't look like they're ready to go to Jalen Reed right yet. They have, they had a chance to put him in, and then with Miles Bryant instead. So I kind of feel like they're going in a different direction right now with Bryant. They need offensive line. Yeah, Trent, offensive line. Could use a running back too to go with Woody Marks. Yep, I mean, absolutely, Nick. I mean, the thing about Davis Mills, he's been here a while. They did have some plans for him at one point, and then they supplanted him as the starter. But he's a quality backup, and he knows this team too well to just sit forever. I think he can help them. When he's needed, he's able to step in. They thought Darrell Taylor was going to do a lot more, and for whatever reason, he just hasn't been able to finish very well, and he hasn't been one of their top guys. They just haven't needed him, and they feel like they have greater depth at defensive tackle, and they'd rather have Tagia and a lot of other guys up and involved. Yep. Guys, shouting out Cody. Cody is here. Cody in the house. And about 51 other you guys, so good to see you, including a $2 tip for me getting rid of the racist guy. That was a lot at the beginning, but he's blocked now. Don't be that guy. Cassia, I think if they could do it again, they wouldn't have just let Cam Robinson ask out of the team. I mean, that was bad. I thought it was soft. I didn't like that around. Stingley, he's okay. I don't think that his oblique injuries affect him as much as it was. Trent, appreciate that. Thanks for the gift membership. That was awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Ben Offie. Very cool. Yeah, Jalen would be a solid practice squad elevation. I think that makes sense to have Jalen up, at least for depth, and he can run. It's a lopsided team. They just have way too much invested in the defense. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be looking at having a better overall team, not just one side of the football. I understand DeMeco Ryans is a defensive coach. They want to get him what he wants. They need to have some better investments on offense. How many of these guys, here's an exercise I like to do. Who would start for every other team? Would Nico Collins be the number one receiver on all the teams? No, obviously not. He would start, but he wouldn't be the number one receiver on every team. Some of the teams he would be, but not the teams with a Pro Bowl receiver. Titus Howard, C.J. Stroud for several franchises. Dalton Schultz on some franchises, not all of them. Thanks, Cassia. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Like for you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Cassia. All right. That was awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that, Cassia, for the tip. Tip jar is open. Woody was able to go back in the game. I don't think it was anything serious. He was able to walk it off. Sometimes, you'll turn your foot and ankle a little bit, and sometimes you can walk it off, and sometimes you can't. We'll see if he's on the injury report at all tomorrow. It takes days and sometimes weeks for someone to clear the protocol. In his case, I think it may be weeks. Not John Weeks. Weeks. Wally. Yeah, he's still in the protocol. They're all in the protocol, but they get out of the protocol once they start practicing and they have a couple of days without symptoms. They get passed by an independent neurologist, and then they can play. I think Davis will be playing. Yes, sir. Alpha Aaron's here. Mills, elevate. I don't know if Stover can play. They've done that before, though, where they had a guy practice and then go right up. I think he's okay, but we'll see. They may think that he's missed too much time. He got hurt in the first game. It's been several months now. New injuries. MJ Stewart, obviously torn quadriceps tendon, specifically torn quadriceps tendon, as I reported Sunday night. Didn't get a lot of credit for that, but that's okay. A couple of aggregators noticed. They acted like D'Amico had made this announcement, and I'd actually said it the day before, but whatever. I think they're going to have a chance to have him back for the Bills game. I think they have to make a decision. Is he going to be able to practice? And that's where we might run into an interesting thing because they don't have a lot of practices before a Thursday game. So we'll see how that goes. It's a concussion. He gets one brain. Remember, last time he missed 2 weeks. So it may be that case again. It could even be 3 because of the short week. See how that goes. I would hope, Dyson, that they wouldn't overlook the Titans. I mean, are they really good enough to overlook people? I didn't cover Sean Cody. Wilfork was not a great interview, actually. He was just okay. He was kind of, he was all right. Ray Lewis was probably more interesting. Guys like Terrell Suggs, pretty interesting. There were some colorful characters in Baltimore, to say the least. I think Trent that Davis has a knack for the offense because it's a lot of quick game. It's fast stuff. But remember, neither of them is really a scrambling mobile quarterback, notwithstanding Davis's touchdown run. I think that CJ, I don't understand really he doesn't call the plays when you're the backup. You write them down. You help make pointers to the guy. But no, I don't think that will happen. I don't know why Kamar Lester doesn't get more attention. I think probably because he plays opposite an all-pro like Derek Stingley Jr., so that affects things, right? Because he's out there, competing for, the snaps, competing for the big plays, and Stingley makes some really highlight-worthy plays. No, Rudy, I don't think they're going to have a new stadium. I think they're just going to make some improvements to NRG. I think we could be in a new practice facility by then. Exactly, Nick. You don't want them to, be in that cycle of concussions like Tua. Yeah, exactly. CJ is the starter. CJ is their best quarterback. I think he can beat the Titans. I don't think the Titans are that great. I think that they've got a block, right? And we don't like the way the guards are playing, so can they do a better job against Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat? Thanks, Racer. Appreciate you. Yeah, you're welcome. I don't know. They're coaching him to look, around, not just throw the ball only to Nico. I thought that it was dangerous throwing to him 15 times. You can have more interceptions that way. He had 15 targets, and Dalton Schultz had 11. There are other targets out there. You got to spread the ball. I think it's a New England thing. I think that's a reluctance from Nick to give rookies a lot. That was how Josh McDaniels is too. Travion Henderson wasn't playing enough. They were holding him back. Obviously, the 147-yard game. And I think that was something where looking at how, and maybe just kind of a thing for New England coaches. There's a chance, they can get in there for the tiebreaker. Do I think they make a lot of noise in the playoffs? Not necessarily, but I don't even know if they're going to get in there. Trent had his moments. I mean, Trent was pretty good out there. His size makes a big difference. He's very savvy. He moves his feet well for a big man. But I don't know if we're going to see him if Titus Howard is back out there, so maybe a moot point. You look at extensions. They reported the Jake Hansen extension, the Tommy Togiai extension. I don't know if there's another one that's just a very obvious extension. You can look at any of these guys on a one-year deal. Tim Settle Jr. would be a nice extension. He's played well. I think they worry about just wearing out Noel. With Pierce and Dare, it doesn't make a lot of sense to people. Pierce has had his moments sometimes on kickoff returns, but that's what happens. Chubb did have a foot injury, and that was a factor. But it was also, they felt like Woody had shown some juice, and that was something. Yeah. I was answering this earlier, Mario. I don't think he's going to play. Well, I answered this earlier, too. I don't think Mixon will play. Hurrying, he won't. They did a couple in-season extensions. I think that might be it for now, though. Yeah, triple taco. I guess that's going to be a block for you. That was gross. Yeah. Can't be talking about stuff like that. Come on. Triple taco, you're out. Trolls. Hey, 64 people in here. Love it. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for joining. This is cool. So, got lots of time for you. More questions and answer that. I'm sorry, I'm kind of looking down, reading. That's how I got to do it. Kurt, he had a arthroscopic knee thing. It doesn't look like he's that far away, but I don't know if they're going to need him at all. So that's something. Thanks, Cordero. Appreciate it. Yep, 500, 5-5. That's absolutely right. Wally, yeah, it's moving fast for me. Who's your prediction? Who you asked me about? I think that Patterson could play left guard again if they have, Ed Ingram back. I think they could go that way. Jalen might be back this week. I heard he's not doing that bad. We'll see. I heard he's doing okay. We'll see. Titus Howard's the one I'm pretty sure about, that he's going to practice tomorrow. I think, Trent, that he listened. There was, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again. I think he listened and made a change. We don't know that it was Popovich's call. What if it was D'Amico Ryan's decision? What if Nick Caserio had input? What if all three of them agreed on that? It was a terrible decision, though. The Texans did not offer a third. They had a phone call. No one was willing to do a third for Breece Hall, and you're only renting him, so it doesn't make any sense to do that. Ingram was making progress. It was a really good sign that he was even at the game and standing on that knee for 3 hours. He's doing better. I heard Titus is practicing tomorrow, so we'll see if he feels good and if he can practice. I think he's trending toward a return, barring any setbacks. Usually don't have setbacks with concussions. So we'll see. Just don't think his was as severe as C.J. Stroud's. Everybody's brain's different. Everybody, when they get hit in the head, they handle that differently. Appreciate you guys keeping it clean. We had a couple of not so clean ones. That's okay. I think he could come back, but I think he's got to have a couple of practices. They can clear him in time if he's back practicing that Monday. They'll have a couple of things they might call a practice, walkthroughs, etc. Yep, prayers for guys in concussion protocol. Concussions are serious, guys. I know some people that have CTE, or early signs of it at least, that are alive, and it's not a cool thing. I've seen other guys have dementia, like John Mackey, who's no longer with us, former great Colts tight end. The decline is sad when you see guys post-football. Some of these guys have a lot of problems, financial problems, medical problems, memory problems. My dad didn't have concussions, but he had Alzheimer's. Rest in peace, Dave Wilson. And, stuff with your brain, that's serious. The walking boot is something of a precaution. So we'll see if he's in the walking boot on Wednesday. I heard Fairburn is possibly not back, and that's why they signed Matt Wright to the active roster. Then it may linger a little bit. That's the word, that he's going to be possibly missing another week or two. No, Mr. Optimistic, that's all fan media stuff. I don't see that at all. I don't think that's happening. Why would you just change Titus's position? In the middle of the season, he's playing well at right tackle. It's just really illogical. I know that you want to fix the left guard spot, but maybe that's not the way to go about it. I think they could do that. I think there's also a chance that he's going to miss a third game. They're going to try to, gauge that. I don't think he has to be that rusty. I mean, he's still, once he starts feeling better, his symptoms subside, he can start throwing the ball. I think he'll be okay. It's not that many weeks. CJ's the starter. Kasi, I think they'll look at running backs. I don't have the list in front of me on who's going to be out there. They're not giving CJ the proper offensive line. They should have traded Larry Tunsil, in my opinion, although it will be a heck of a second-round pick with the way the Commanders are going. Nick, I mean, the thing is, to stop the Colts, they've got to be able to block certain players. It helps them that DeForest Buckner's on injured reserve with a neck injury. He's an outstanding player. They have had a lot of problems blocking, especially any good interior defensive lineman. I think that they will have, a fighting chance, without him in there. I think they can probably contain Jonathan Taylor. I think they have had one back give them a lot of problems, Bucky Irving. I could see it happening. Yeah, I know about the fourth, yep. Ed, I think they'll have a discussion. It just depends on what his financial parameters are and how they feel about this second half of the season. He's got to finish strong to earn himself a good deal. He's hungry, I can tell you that. He's fitting really well here. They like him. Is he like a star? No, but he's solid. He could be one of the starters. I don't know. I don't think that was the problem with the Texans last year in the playoffs. I think the problems are against certain teams, they just don't match up well. The offense just isn't good enough. Yep, absolutely. The Giants are in the skid. No, I don't think CJ practices tomorrow, Mario. That's what I was saying before. I don't think Christian Kirk's played that great. I think he's had too many injuries. I think it's affected his performance. He did draw that big pass interference call, though. That was good. But, it wasn't a big game for him. I think it was 3 targets, 1 catch. Yeah, not much. Absolutely, D'Amico has influence on the play calling. But I don't think he tries to. He makes suggestions. He'll tell him, especially fourth down. That's a big deal for him. They have a chance to gain more ground. They can, it would help them if Cincinnati could get a W, things like that. So we'll see. No one talked about a Kirk revenge game. That he wasn't even interviewed, actually, because he didn't have a lot of plays. Old man Jay. I think for CJ, it's not looking like a $60 million deal anymore, right? No. With Will Anderson, I think it's going to be, something that will approach an Aiden Hutchinson kind of contract. It'll be very expensive. No noise and extension talks. They can't even, negotiate until the year is over. Yeah, Nick, I think there's a possibility. I mean, it's still a really balanced, sound Colts team that gets great quarterback play. Daniel Jones has really, really meshed well. Shane Steichen's a very smart coach. Had a former Texans employee talking to me about him all summer, knows him well, and he was telling me, and he was really right, that the Colts were going to make a big move this year. The Colts were going to improve, and he was outstanding on all of that. He was right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Most underrated player on the Texans this year, some might say Jalen Noel. I think EJ Speed's a bit underrated. I look at Tommy Tagiai, especially, signing him to that, small extension, $3 million. He's pretty underrated. Nobody really talks about him much. He's outstanding. Dalton Schultz, and at one point, he was kind of disappointing, but he's really been good this year. He doesn't really get anything. Christian Harris has a shin injury. I saw him walking around after the game. But no, he really does have it's a real injury, Ruben. Yeah, he's not faking it. He got hurt. Ruben and I think alike, Tagi. Yeah, I enjoy the games. I'm a fan of football. I'm not a fan of the Texans. I'm not a fan of any team. I don't root for the team. I root for stories. I like stories. Stories are great. Having something to talk about. It's exciting. Yeah, genuinely get excited about those games. I know it seemed kind of low key, but yeah, I was excited. I was enjoying watching some good football, some meaningful football. I root for relevance of the team, which is good for the audience. A team that has a repetitive storyline that's a negative storyline, eventually people do tune it out. I don't know if Stover will play. I think that is to be determined. Thank you, Holly Evans. Appreciate it. Question, with the Texans, can they carry the momentum? I think so. We're going to find out. I think that there's a good chance that they can do that. No, I don't see that. Trent Brown is not a guard. He's way too tall at 6'8" to have that. He's a tackle. Someone else said that too. He's 6'8", 380. Guys that like talking to the media. Azeez Al-Shire seems to enjoy it. I feel like when Will Anderson does it, he enjoys it. Nico Collins enjoys it. I think some other guys. Jake Andrews, definitely. Very thoughtful. Aaron Tertiary is kind of warming up to it. Sometimes he's had to answer some tough questions. I think when he's playing well, obviously, a little more fun for him. But yeah, those are some guys I think enjoy the interaction with the media. And everybody's respectful. I don't think Dalton Schultz loves talking to the media because he was kind of soured from his Dallas experience, got burned a little bit up there, burnt out on it with the circus atmosphere of Dallas. But he's had solid relationships here. He treats us well. And when he wants to talk, he's very insightful. Marlon Davidson is still in the practice squad. There is no plan, Rudy, to move him up at this time. I did not hear about them shopping guys. I think they could have tried to dump, possibly a Darrell Taylor. I don't think he would have given you a pick or Chris Harris. I just don't think they're that valuable anymore. They're aware that the defense is way ahead of the offense. Yeah, they're aware of that, Dyson. Absolutely. Biggest offensive lineman that I've covered opposed to Jonathan Ogden, who was 6'9", and over 360 pounds. Another guy that was 6'8", 370, but was a little bulkier in a way than Trent Brown, and that was Orlando Zeus Brown, who's no longer with us. Rest in peace. Zeus died in his sleep, far too young, wasn't even 40 years old. Ketoacidosis, had diabetes, didn't realize that he had it, and died in his sleep. Of course, the father of Bengals offensive tackle Orlando Brown, who I've known since he was 12 years old when he would come around the Ravens building. But yeah, Zeus is a real character. He was the guy that got hit in the eye with the penalty flag when he was playing for the Cleveland Browns. Dalton Schultz has got some injuries, knee, shoulder, a little sore. Olabisipo, pardon me if I'm mispronouncing that. Can Brown play right tackle? I think you're asking about Titus Howard play right guard. Clarify who you mean on the second one. I don't think Trent will be playing right tackle. I think Titus Howard will be playing right tackle. It's going to take some time. With Cade, he's got to get some rust off. He's got to practice a little bit, convince them that it makes sense. But they can't wait to have him out there. They get weighed every day that they're at the facility. Said that they beat the Bills last year, so yes, I do think they have a chance. Their style of play as a defense bothered Josh Allen, and they have a lot of injuries too. You're talking about Darrell Taylor. I mean, he was always slated to be a backup, so it's not like he was expected to do a lot. It just isn't working. He's just not a fit, I guess. He looked good in the preseason, though. That was not, we weren't making that up. He looked good. Jimmy Ward, a couple more weeks, not this week. Surprise extension. I think correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if there's a guy. I mean, what about Tim Settle Jr.? He'll be a free agent. What about extending him? I don't know if they're on the same page. High Adventure. Oh, man, Jay, I think he's shown a couple times he has flashes. He's a developing young coach. He's only 42 years old. I would say that he has a good chance to be back. I don't think I want to be one and done with OCs every year. They're an offense that has the potential to improve. They need to improve the personnel, and they need to get personnel that I think suits his offense a little bit better. And yeah, guys, a couple of programming notes. Of course, we'll have practice tomorrow at 12:45. I'll have some practice videos. I'll, of course, have locker room access. We're going to talk to the coordinators tomorrow, not D'Amico Ryans. And that's because Earl Cochran, D'Amico Ryans' high school teammate, one of his closest friends, today lost his best friend, coach with a heavy heart. He died on Halloween, October 31st, and he passed away. Don't know the cause of death, but dies in his 40s. He's about 3 years older than D'Amico. And so D'Amico's going to go to the funeral. They are both from Bessemer, Alabama. So D'Amico Ryans, condolences to him and to the family and friends of Earl Cochran. Earl will not be out there. D'Amico will not be out there because he'll be at Earl's funeral. I mean, Darrell, yeah, he's a speed rusher, and he did well. I think that they're looking for guys that play more of a physical style, kind of run through guys more so than just run around the edge. It's a shoulder injury. I don't know about collarbone. It's his shoulder. I don't have a real diagnosis. Not a lot on Dalton on that one. Ben McDaniels, I'm assuming you're talking about. He's not been a play caller. I don't see that being the guy. And he didn't even interview for the job, by the way. They interviewed Bill Lazor, who does have play calling possibilities and background with Miami and Cincinnati and Chicago. But they overlooked him, so I know that they're going to go that direction. I think he's going to be the OC here, guys, Nick Caley, barring some kind of collapse. I think Will's going to have to put up some more stats to catch up with some of the other guys for Defensive Player of the Year. I've heard CJ likes Caley. I think that they have a much better relationship. Yeah, with Bobby, there was something of a cool that had happened. They kind of got into a rut there. But it wasn't just CJ. It was other players, including Laramie Tunsil. Wasn't the only player that wasn't a Slowick fan. They just would say to me, off the record, they would tell me, hey, just didn't feel like he was listening to input. I'm not being specific about anybody on that one. Oh, I thought you meant Mike McDaniel. It said McDaniels. His name is Mike McDaniel, not McDaniels. I don't see that happening. I think Mike might want to take time off. Maybe he also considers himself a head coach still. We'll see. 11 wins? Wow, Houston 35. You are an optimist. Love it. Not sure if that will happen. It's a lot of wins away. 7 more wins. Wow. That'd be quite an upset. I don't know if Will, if he's the most sure-handed guy, if you want him taking snaps. You're welcome, Trent. I appreciate it. Like I was saying, just try to give you guys the truth. I come at this from a beat reporter, journalism background. I'm not necessarily I've done a lot of talk radio. I've been we'll say guest. I had a show when I was in Baltimore. I've never been someone like to really run the show in terms of having my own show. I'm a guest analyst on many things, like with KPRC is their insider. So yeah, I mean, this is a chance for me to express myself a little more, have a little more of a voice, and I'm enjoying it. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that's filled up my tip jar tonight, man. Thank you. Always welcome. Helps me keep the phone bill paid and the lights on, all those things. Kidding. I appreciate it. You know, there's always a chance for changes when guys' contracts expire. So I could see that happening, having some changes with position coaches. So I don't see Caley being one and done. I don't know. I think Dable is the kind of guy, he's going to either be all in or all out. I don't think he would just I think he's got a really strong personality. I don't know if that's a good fit to have him in there despite his connections. I don't like that idea. Dable's kind of a bull in a china shop. Read some of the New York media. They're starting to tell the truth about Dable's reign of terror in the Big Apple. Sounds bad. I'll hang, guys, until we're up to I got about 14 more minutes, and then we'll close. So get your questions in. Fire away. Try to answer everything I can. And like I said, a couple more programming notes. So like I was saying, D'Amico Ryans will talk on Thursday. The coordinators will talk on Wednesday. And D'Amico will attend the funeral for Earl Cochran. I think that Popovich is good. I think he's coached up some of these guys. I think they got to play better. I think that they've got to, I've watched him work. I've watched, very closely at camp. I saw improvement. I saw guys get better. I just don't think he has a very talented line. I think that these guys give him what he has. I think that Nick Caserio should have spent more on the offensive line, made more investment. It wasn't enough. I think they got to win 6 more games to get to the playoffs. Ben McAdoo, that was bad too. Yeah, Tommy Togiai, he's already extended. They gave him a new contract. I reported that. They don't provide much info unless the trade happens. Generally, you don't hear a ton about failed trades. They just don't think anyone between Juice Scruggs and these guys has really won the job. That's why they rotated, because they didn't think anybody was playing that well. Nobody really earned the job. I think the Colts are very balanced. They're very good. I think it's really tough to win 6 games. I'm not telling you that they're going to win 6 games. I know he did, but I just don't see him maybe fitting in. He's very strong-willed. Cassie, I try to stick with certain things on news. This is a journalism question. I like to talk about the roster. I like to talk about money, like contracts. I like to talk about personnel changes, if there's lineup change, and injuries. I'm not writing a gossip column. There's lots of things I know. There's a lot of things I'm sure of. There's been things that I thought would have been national news. I decide not to report them. That is my decision. Nobody's telling me what to do. But relationships are important. I'm not going to just empty out my notebook and tell people everything. And that's a personal choice. Sometimes I just make, a judgment call. Is the juice worth the squeeze? What's the effect of that? Does anyone really need to know? Do I think other media know maybe something I know? Is there a chance I'm getting scooped? If I am, was it something I choose to do? There's many stories I might know about. Over the years, I don't report everything that I hear, and sometimes you can't verify something or you don't have like a paper trail. You might have multiple sources. You need to be very careful. One other rule of thumb, avoid being sued. Never been sued. Yeah, Marcus, they've got to beat some quality opponents. And they got to beat teams, the gimmies, right? The Titans, the Cardinals, etc. I mean, Nick, I don't know that they're going to be able to fix all this in 1 year. Just all of a sudden become this like top flight offense. They got to just make more improvement. They got to get better. Get some more talent onto the roster. Having Tank back would help, right? I think you look at offensive line. Yeah, Trent. I was saying that earlier. Got to get better at the offensive line. You cannot settle for half measures. It can't just be, oh, he's pretty good. You can't talk yourself into that. You got to say it's not good enough and we can do better. Someone that might be considered acceptable, you don't want to like grade it on a curve, right? This is the NFL. This isn't a participation trophy stuff. This isn't Little League. Some of these guys just aren't good enough, and you have to accept that, yeah, he's okay. He was good enough for this year, that they're aiming higher. You got to reevaluate everything about the offense. You got to ask that tough question I was saying. Would they start for someone else? If the answer is no consistently, then you're not good enough. I don't think you guys are satisfied. I don't think the Texans should be either. You have to say, this isn't good enough, we can do better, and then see how you can develop a plan to get better. If you're not getting better, this is an improvement league. The other teams are improving all the time. Look at the improvement of the Colts. The Texans didn't improve. Improved some on defense, and then they made some mistakes, some chemistry issues. You know, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's trying to play his own defense. I mean, he didn't change at all. He was acting, and I know he's playing well for the Bears. They're letting him do what he wants. They're letting him blitz, and that's working. But that's not what the Texans want to do. They didn't need him to do that. Do I prepare differently for primetime games? I prepare differently in the sense that I know that I'm going to be having to do things late at night, and I'm going to have a deadline. I have to kind of be realistic about first priority television, whatever I'm doing for Randy McElvoy and the guys over at KPRC2. And then actually, I prioritize YouTube and my social media, and then I let it marinate a little bit. I'm not writing like I'm on a deadline, like I have to have the story in 5 minutes. I think that you have to think about, what's important now. Thank you, Tay. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Landry's great. I wasn't talking about Landry at all. I was just saying like my approach to how I do things. I think he does a great job. Stingley's oblique injury has bothered him for most of the season, but he is not on the injury report. I think that it did improve. Absolutely, yeah, Mr. Optimist. That's well said. I mean, there's a lot of variety. There are a lot of guys that have different styles. Some of those guys do some really cool stuff, like Seth with film study. Cody and Landry have some great takes, and they're at practice every day, just like me. They're on the beat. They're into it. So we have some really great content creators here, and yeah, I'm just happy to be a part of it. I'm a little bit more, traditional, and so I try to bring that sensibility to that, and I try to learn some new things. So I watch everybody's channel, I listen, I read transcripts, all that stuff. So I'm a voracious consumer of all of the content. I like to check it out. I can't watch like every single minute, but yeah, I pay attention. Yeah, they thought he did well. People were impressed with how Trent played. I don't know if he's going to, how bad is his foot ankle. I was told he's okay. I mean, like no structural damage from the x-rays, but we'll see. He was able to walk. He was very hobbled. Let's see how he feels a couple of days later. I didn't see him on Monday. I only saw him on Sunday, so I haven't seen him in a couple of days. Tank out for the year is the expectation. They don't think that it makes sense for him to play. Next year, Holly Evans, an average fan, next season. Let him he's had a lot of calamity, right? So he broke his leg blocking against the Denver Broncos. Never should have been. That was another Bobby Slowick mistake. He gets shot in the leg, no fault of his own, at a house party. And then he has this awful dislocated knee, torn ACL, MCL, all these injuries, everything except for, I believe, the PCL, and the patellar tendon was intact, and he even did avoid some meniscus damage too. He's doing well. He's running. He's going to come back next year. I think they're going to look at Titus's contract. That's something that could happen. Nothing new with Tank. I don't know why Ross Tucker was seeking attention, talking about him running. Yeah, doesn't mean he's playing. Maybe Nick shouldn't pick the offensive lineman. Maybe they should let Popovich pick the offensive lineman, D'Amico. Close. It was in December, so we're about 11 months. I don't know, Brandon. I didn't notice them on the sideline, so I'm not sure about that question from Brandon Hallam about when the McNairs walked down to the sideline. Do not know. I've heard that Nick's contract was augmented a little bit in terms of pay, but in terms of the maxes, that he had in the contract, that was augmented. I heard that same thing happened for D'Amico Ryans. I heard D'Amico's at about $10 million a year. Nick's at about $6 million a year. So just in terms of pay, I don't know about years. I've had situations where I think somebody was trying to pretend they had more information than they did and wasn't as close to the situation as they claimed to be. They need to think about, are you bringing back Dalton for next year? They might. Yeah, he is. C.J. Gardner playing well in Chicago as a blitzing safety. That's their thing. 3 sacks. You're welcome, Trent. Dalton had injuries last year, too. Needed to draft another guard. I agree with that. Mixon, not ready. Not expected to play. This could be a regular thing on Tuesday, especially with the response I saw tonight, where I had more people show up and I was able to kind of figure out the technology a little bit. So, I like 8 o'clock. EJ's starting. I think that they will continue, especially depending on if I think Jalen's going to come back, then they can go back to a 2 linebacker set, but I think EJ should play no matter what. Thanks, Angel. Appreciate you. Yeah, he's had a lot of injuries. We're going to find out. Rev, I've answered this a couple of times. He had procedures on his foot that were unsuccessful. It got worse. It kind of turned in a bad direction. He's had problems with his foot. I was told it's, quote, tough and complicated by a source close to the situation. And it's a disappointing thing. It's a non-football injury. He was in a boot. Then he was in a lace-up. Heard about a little progress over the summer. And then it just didn't go in a good enough direction. I've heard some talk about not getting a lot of good blood flow to the foot. And so, we haven't heard anything about him coming back. So I'd be surprised if he played any football this year. Thanks, Average Fan. Thanks, Tay. Appreciate it. I got lots of nicknames. I was the assassin in high school. A-Dub, A-Dog, all kind of nicknames. Big A. Had lots of them. This is a new one. This is a Landry Cody thing, mostly Landry. And I taped that promo for him about, hey, bro. They think I say hey, bro, a lot. Call people, bro. They don't have to answer the questions, Nick. They just, it's our job to find out the information. It doesn't have to be spoon-fed. I understand it frustrates some media. They don't want to dig or whatever. I think they should just declare guys out for the year. If they're out for the year, I don't see any competitive advantage. I think because of his non-football injury status, because they're being nice and paying him based on kind of loyalty and all that kind of stuff, I think that's a factor, and that's their choice. I got time for a couple more, guys. We're coming up in about an hour and 10 minutes. You're welcome, Nick. They played Jalen Mills some. I mean, he had 4 catches on 4 targets. I think that's going to continue, right? Miles Bryant would probably step in terms of nickel, but it looks like Petrie's coming back. Yeah, I mean, they didn't really want. I think they just had so many. They were down too many points for the 2 points. He can make all those extra points. He's a good kicker, Matt Wright. That's why they signed him to the 53, and they think that injury may linger the quad, with Kyrie Fairburn. Just bad injuries, slow healing, setbacks with his calf, and problems. He's very lean with really low body fat percentage. Sometimes guys like that are wound a little tight, they tend to have these soft tissue injuries. This is a different injury. This is a shin injury. I think everybody needs to stop living in the past when it comes to Christian Harris. It's been a couple years since he had that big season. Time moves on. You're welcome, Costa. Yeah. Appreciate everybody bringing me the questions. I've got time for about 3 quick ones, so boom. Yeah, I mean, I know, woulda, coulda, shoulda, yeah, but you don't have Mixon. They've had to adapt. They adapted a long time ago. I don't know why fans are still kind of fixated on the Mixon thing. We're giving you the answers to the test. He's out. Tank's out. Christian's not going to play like he did a couple years ago. These are the players you have. Got to ride with them. Nobody's coming in riding in a white horse. Trade deadline wouldn't have done that much. I don't think Breece Hall was worth the 3rd-round pick to rent him. Then he goes to free agency, maybe signs with someone else, and you're out a 3rd-round pick. Appreciate you guys. Optimistic. Dyson fam. Like I said, I got time for a couple more questions. We'll go ahead and do 3.5 more minutes. And then I got to run. And if anybody's got anything else, then I'm happy to weigh in. And of course, there'll be a replay of this. It'll take a while. Looks like it, right? Especially when Chubb was dealing with a foot injury. I think they're pretty interchangeable, though. Yes, Tay. I think they will give him more ops. I'm sorry. Somebody might sound a little grouchy or whatever. Some people that came late asking the same questions. But I get these questions all the time. That's kind of where I come from with that. But I'm more about what's next, what's now, not what's old. Yes, Angel. Need offensive linemen. Need to make an evaluation of everybody. Who are the keepers? Looks like the tackles are. Jalen Smith's a good player. He's a good 3rd corner. Absolutely. That was a good draft pick. Yeah, I mean, Chubb is good at what he does. He has his moments. What's up, Jacob's World? I think their pass rush stinks too, but also they had trouble with Eric Armstead. They couldn't even block him. That was his best game of the year. That's because they don't want to tell you optimistic. People have got to pay attention to their style, which is to not really give out much information. So I reported, and I thought that was progress. He gave some updates last week. I think he's become a little bit more, proactive and media friendly. I guess you can call that fan friendly, answering some questions about the concussion protocol recently. So that's progress. That's good. We appreciate that. I just don't expect them to tell us everything. So with MJ Stewart, I reported with 3 different sources that he tore his quadriceps tendon Sunday night and that he would need surgery, that he was out for the season. I think it was kind of obvious when them being carted off that he would be out for the season, but just what is the nature of the injury and kind of confirming that. So it's called reporting. That's what you have to do. Or you can wait for them to not answer the question or wait for the injury reserve transaction. Yeah, Nick, they've got to move up in terms of the offense. It's got to get better. I think it's going to be Woody Marks. I don't know if he went to the game. I did see him, though, Monday. He was back in the building on Monday. I think that implication was. I know he was still dealing with sensitivity to light and headaches. Still has some symptoms now, even. What do you mean, Nick? What news are you referring to? I know. I said, yeah, it's just, if it was going to happen, it would happen by now. People have to move on. It's like The Sopranos and ended, right? That's not coming back. I gotta adjust to that. It's been a long time, and I missed the show. All good things come to an end. That's the way it's been with Joe Mixon. They do have him under contract, but I don't know if they're going to want to bring him back. I think they're going to have to move on the way this is going. Well, I believe the year expires. It doesn't toll. I'll check on that, but I don't believe it does. That was a great last question. Unless I get one in the next few seconds, we'll sign off. Gonna get one under the buzzer? One more question. Next question. Injury, only injuries, not personal, not money. He wanted to play, still would love to play. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the great questions. Thanks for all the tips. Last chance, if anyone wants to tip, I'll take one for the road. Gas money. Joking. Appreciate you guys. Give it a minute here. You're welcome. Thanks, Taste. Appreciate that. You guys are welcome. Glad you guys enjoyed it. I had fun. This was, I think, our best chat we've had. So, yeah, it was productive, and glad we got a chance to do this from my home. So, thank you. Thanks, BG. Appreciate you guys. I'll just kind of hang for a minute, then I'll log on off. But I charge up my phone and check my text messages and probably do a little more writing between now and start practice tomorrow. Like I said, guys, practice tomorrow, 12:45 Central. D'Amico Ryans will not address the media tomorrow because he's going to be in Bessemer, Alabama, his hometown, to go to the funeral and remembrance memorial for Earl Cochran, former Texans defensive end. Rest in peace, Earl. I didn't know Earl. That was he was here when I was in Baltimore, but heard he was a great guy. So my deepest condolences to D'Amico Ryans and everybody that knows and loves Earl Cochran. We'll hear from Nick Caley. Can't wait to talk to him about the switch up in the red zone. Say some good things about the red zone offense for a change. So it's been great. Guys, thanks. And we'll say goodnight. And it's been fun. I appreciate everybody that contributed, all the great questions, people that chimed in. Sorry about a few of those weirdos that wanted to say some racist stuff and other things. So they're out of here. And hopefully we don't have that happen again. But yeah, sometimes that'll happen. It's just one of those things. Just maturity, right? Everybody's a grown up. Some people grow up a lot slower or choose to grow up a lot slower than others. So, all right, guys. Thanks, and talk soon. And there'll be a replay of this. It'll take a little while, obviously, to process. It takes a long time with YouTube when it's done on your phone. But appreciate it. All right, guys. Thanks.